races they are, so I'm really looking forward to it. The 6, She Hit a Homer, is my first non-morning line favorite selection of the day. I think she's a legitimate sprinter. She started her career with a really nice debut win, sprinting at Prairie last year as a 2-year-old, went into a stake off that effort, did not run well. Certainly bred to grass, and, something that'll help her odds is the time they did try her on turf, they tried her around 2 turns. That's not her distance at all. So, to me, I totally excuse that race. She's in really good dirt sprint form, coming off a real good effort, losing narrowly at this same condition. So back on what she's bred to run on. I think She Hit a Homer for Gellner. Elliott is the one I like best. The 10, Thorny Rose, who narrowly was beaten last time out, running 7 1/2 furlongs. You can see led into deep stretch. The filly that beat her, Presley's Hope, came back to win. She's been, she's sprinted well when she's had opportunities on turf. So Thorny Rose from the outside is very logical. And Ben Deline is my next pick, who finished third at this condition, just 2 starts back behind Telling Time, who's a pretty nice little turf sprinter. And then last time out, broke dead last and lost all chance there. Finished up well as a beaten favorite. May make amends in this spot.
Yeah, Ben Deline's start last time was just awful. I mean, hopped, was out way behind. The thing I worry a little bit about her, and I have her picked second, is she just kind of nibbles around the edges. She did break her maiden on the dirt at Will Rogers. She picks up a lot of checks. She's made almost $50,000 in just 9 races, but you just wonder if the ability to win is there. It could be, but I'm with She Hit a Homer as well. I thought she did a good job chasing the pace, going 3/4 on the dirt last time, led late, got caught by Markup, who we've, long thought had some talent as a filly. So I like She Hit a Homer as well over Ben Deline. And Half Page is back at a reasonable level. The last time Half Page sprinted against this level of competition was just 2 races back, and she gave a pretty good account of herself. And so back in a turf sprint, she could be one to look at in the first. Second race, we've got a scratch out of race 2, actually a couple of them. The 5, My Little Whiskey Girl, and the 7, Charming Side, are both out of race 2. A mile on the main track, $5,000 maiden claiming fillies. We don't see that level very often here.
Yeah, it's the absolute bottom here. Miss Wow Wow, deserves favoritism. It's only run 1 mile on the main track 2 previous times. Once was a second-place finish against maiden special weights at Houston. That race would certainly be good enough to win. And then a race at Oaklawn Park where, the competition in a maiden 30 is very strong. So just based on those 2 races, if she can duplicate one of the 2, I think that'll be good enough to win. Come Correct. It's been a second-place machine, an exacta player's dream, you might want to say. Last 3 races on the main track have all been late-running, quality second-place finishes. So, obviously, she's got to be used in here. And as far as I know, good buyer figures earned at Oaklawn Park. Sprinting, she did run a couple route races there. First start for Kevin Scholl last time out was 2-1. Ran kind of a one-paced race, but often that type of running style translates better to 2-turn races.
Yeah, as far as I know, second. She's coming back really quickly. Raced here on July 16th. I think it's interesting that Scholl took her for $20,000 just 2 outs ago, and only ran her once, and now dunks her in for 5. But nonetheless, I've got her second. This is a race where I'm loath to take a really short price, but in Miss Wow Wow's case, I just don't see how I can go any other way. One thing that's interesting is Stuart Elliott rode this filly last time, and he's ridden her before. This time, he's just not on her. Now, I don't know if he just decided to sit it out or if Asmussen took him off just this filly. Elliott's here today. He's just going to watch this one from the jocks room. And Christian Torres has been on a tear of late, so you're not losing anything there. On to the third, 5.5 furlongs. This is an optional claimer, $10,000, or the starter allowance side of this is starting for $5,000 or less in 2021 or 2022. I think this is one of these long shot type races, and you do too. We both have horses that are definitely not morning line favorites.
Yeah, I like Samurai Cause in here. It's not one of the races where I don't think you can love any horse in here, but I like Samurai's Cause. Basically, last year was running races at Canterbury, Remington, that are plenty good enough to win this race. After a long layoff return this season, I think I can make an excuse. Tried a turf sprint, beaten 60 lengths, probably got very little out of that race. Then came back in an optional claimer here at Lone Star Park, was bet down to 7-1, probably off the good races that I was looking at today. Ran evenly, dropped down to $5,000 and was a very determined winner last time out on June 18th. It looks to me like he's really coming back to his best form right now. Plus, there's plenty of speed in this race, and he looks like the type that really wants to come running late. So I'm going to take Samurai Cause in a mild upset. Available star. Easy to like this one. They added blinkers last time out. Was a clear winner. Comes back at the exact same condition for Karen Jacks. Therefore, this horse is quite obvious. And Carbon Striker, who has been kind of hit and miss, did win at this same level 2 starts back. Then they tried a turf sprint, did not run especially well that day, which is no shock. He's never hit the board in 3 turf races. But again, just look at his previous race for Broberg. He is in the Brandon Jenkins barns now. But those races he was running for Broberg here at this meeting and the one at Oaklawn are good enough to win here.
Yeah, I have him. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I don't have Carbon Striker in there, but I agree on that. I just think it's such a wide-open race. I went with Chapel Barn in this race. Has good speed. Chapel Barn was having a really nice year at Fairgrounds and a good race at Oaklawn, and then they shipped him to Prairie for an allowance event. He was 2-1, and he got dusted. Now, normally horses that get dusted at Prairie, I'm not going to jump all over, but the horse that won that race was next start was the Prairie Mile. So, that was obviously maybe a prep for, a future race for this horse. It didn't work. Then they took him to LAD. Didn't fare very well there. Those are normally 2 factors that would cause me to toss him. But Diodoro's been heating up. He did have a good year earlier in the year. I think getting back back here if he breaks a little bit better or if he shows a little more speed at least. I'm going to give him a look here for Diodoro over Available Star and Samurai Cause. River Ruler is intriguing too. Stuart Elliott rides this horse. He's one that doesn't do much working in the morning, but his main track form isn't too bad, and he's fast. So he's my 4th pick. So we both have some long shots going there in that 3rd. On to the 4th. Looks like there's a fair amount of speed here for the favorite Lost Wish to deal with. This is a 5/8 mile turf event, fillies, non-winners of 3.
Yeah, and Lost Wish, he ran well at Turfway Park, took several months off, returned here at Lone Star Park, and a non-winners of 2 for 25. Was very good that day. Did make a clear lead and then just drew off and won relatively comfortably. Asmussen, as he typically does, get a nice clear win in a non-2 for 25. Wheels him back in a non-3. Very well spotted today. Stalemate is my next selection. He was a clear winner at this exact same condition just 2 races ago, but was disqualified. Ran against open $15,000 claimers in his last race. That was actually a top effort. Now back into the condition claiming ranks. So even though the claiming price is higher, this is a drop in class for Stalemate, who's in terrific form. He'll make one big run, I believe. And the 2, Taylor's Secret, who's been going around 2 turns all season, up close to the pace, fading. Interesting, they've been running him around 2 turns this season, considering his only turf sprint race at Fairgrounds over the winter produced an entry-level allowance win.
Yeah. And for that reason, I'm going with her. 3-year-old filly taking on Elders here. You can't get much hotter than the Jade Gellner barn. Lane Leslie as well. But, I think this is one angle I do really like is the angle of horses who've been showing speed, especially on the turf, going longer, turning back into these sprints. They always seem to have good energy late. And this filly led it into the stretch on July 2nd here, going a mile, and that was a pretty good race with Pretty in Pink and Princess Pauline, and she earned a good buyer. So I'm going to go with Taylor's Secret to maybe pick up some pieces over Stalemate and Lost Wish. I might be I don't know. I might not be giving Lost Wish enough credit for that really nice local win here. I think the legitimate question for her is she really going to turn into a really nice turf sprinter, or was that race just sort of an aberration?
Mm-hmm.
With Asmussen, I don't worry so much about the aberration theory. Once they start to get good, usually they've found something there. So on to race 5. Start of the 6-shooter. It's the old 5-10, like we used to have at Caliente in Tijuana. That's what their pick 6. The original pick 6 in all of racing was the Caliente 5-10 sequence. Today's 6-shooter on races 5 through 10, $467 in the carryover. Texas Breds going a mile.
Yeah, and Awesome Gustafson, one of our high percentage trainers, saddles the 6 stands, home run. David Cabrera, again, a high percentage rider returning. This horse has been finishing up really well. He's had 3 sprint races this season, all of them finishing with really good energy. Certainly bred to go 1 mile, and I think on this stretch out, I did note that Cabrera and Gustafson together, 28% winners over the last year and a half. So very high win percentage trainer-rider team. Cosmetology is my next selection. Back-to-back second-place finishes at this exact same condition, both around 2 turns. Last time out, they did try turf to no avail. But if you just look at his 4 races here at Lone Star Park on the main track, 1 win and 3 second-place finishes for trainer Danny Pish. So you got to admire her consistency, and you've got to use her in your exactas tries, etc. Silver and Gold I thought was real interesting, too. Last time out, dropped into a non-winners of 2 after running at this level. Showed great determination, and a lot of times horses after a win, you can put them right back at the condition where they were running competitively and not winning, and just that extra confidence, can really bode well for them. Was narrowly beaten at this exact same condition back in May, and again, coming off a really game win for Karen Jacks, who's quietly had a good meeting.
Yeah, very good meeting. We have the same pick, same order, so I don't need to dwell on this too much. I do like Stan's home run. I think Mr. Nightblinger, who he ran into last time, is a pretty promising horse. Cosmetology, interesting that Danny Pish is running her twice in her last 3 races against the boys. She just got worn down by King Congo going 9 furlongs 2 starts ago. Ran a nice race. I think it's easy to excuse the turf race last time. I went ahead and used her second, and Silver and Gold, I'm going to work very, very hard not to call him Gold and Silver, which I did one time a couple of races ago. It's an easy thing to do because I'm sure we've had at least one Gold and Silver run here over the years. So I'm going to try not to do that. On to the 6th. This race starts the pick 5, which has like a $313 carryover. We're on the same horse here. This is 7/8 of a mile. Texas bred non-2 claimers. Scratch number 2, Tappin' the Bling, and scratch the 5, Lumberjack Leslie.
Yeah, same trainer-rider team as the previous race for my top selection, Gustafson Cabrera. Started this season with a couple troubled races. Both times, it's very competitive, but had just a penchant for trouble. One poor performance was the race on turf, and then in his 4th start of the season here on July 2nd, finally at the right condition, right distance, and ran a terrific race, narrowly defeated on that day, now dropping from $20,000 condition claimer into $7,500, 7/8 of a mile. This is the type of horse that seems tailor-made for 7 furlongs as well. So I'm taking the 8 Popeye's Heart as one of the more likely winners today on a card where there's very few horses I think you can bet with a great deal of confidence. Ghoster, I like this one for Asmussen as well. Finished second at a higher level than this just 2 sprint races ago. Then last time out, ran against Popeye's Heart, basically dueled with that horse and gave way at the 8th foal to Tire. But perhaps he's better sprinting, and he could certainly turn the tables on Popeye's Heart today at this distance. And Policy Limit for Broberg. Last time out, he was running at this lower $7,500 claiming price. He added blinkers for the first time and really responded well. He was beaten only ahead by Mora Warrior, and it was 6 1/2 furlongs, 6 1/2 lengths back to the 3rd place finisher.
I have Policy Limit as a 3rd selection as well. I'm on Popeye's Heart as well. The horse I'd like to talk about here is the 12, Flying Sexy. Eric Medellin, the apprentice, has done a good job with when he's had live mounts. He's ridden well, but I thought he moved this horse a little early last time. Maybe it was just the way the horse wanted to run, but this horse made a big middle move on the backstretch last time. Not saying Eric cost the horse the race, but by any means. But switches to Diego today. That may help. I don't know. But I think Flying Sexy's worth a look because this horse made a big middle move and then had good energy and then just sort of went flat later on. But I like Eric Medellin, and I think he's going to have a good future. He won a race on the card yesterday. But today, Flying Sexy picks up Diego. We'll see if that changes this guy's fortunes. I got him as a second pick here behind Popeye's Heart.
So you have Silver and Gold race as potentially a key race.
There you go.
I mean, potentially.
Flying Sexy just ran in that race with Popeye's Heart behind Silver and Gold.
Yeah, and he was coming off a layoff too, Flying Sexy, so he may have been just a little too fresh. And
that's probably it as much.
Yeah, having the second start off a break, that could end up being a pretty wise selection there.
On to the 7th. This is interesting. We had a maiden 2-year-old race yesterday for fillies. Maiden special weights. First time this bunch has gotten to go around 2 turns, and you introduced turf as well.
Yeah, I've been kind of waiting on this horse, Spy Amongst Us. I made the horse 6-1. I actually checked the daily racing form. None of the handicappers had him anywhere.
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't use him either.
So maybe making him 6-1 because I like him. I thought others might like him. Maybe I should have made him 12-1. I don't know. We'll see. They paid $130,000 at a 2-year-old in training sale. Yeah. I know, recent purchase.
Yeah.
And he worked in with a 3-year-old colt on June 9th at 102. On the May 29th worked, and that colt debuted and ran a terrific race. Finished second. The work on June 26th is the one that made me think I'll probably end up picking this colt. 102 and 3 by himself, but he finished really fast. So I thought, oh, wow, this horse has some ability. As you can see, he's worked 35 flat back in May. They paid a lot of money for him. Speightster has one of those turf. Tomlinson's a 373, but he's a young sire, so we don't have a lot of samples. And the dam was unraced, so we don't really know. So,
this is the first foal from her also.
Yeah, so I'm thinking to myself, this might be a pretty decent turf horse right off the get-go. So, and Christian Torres aboard, who's, like you said, he's been red hot of late. So I think the stars are lined up for perhaps an upset in this race. The 7, Bratton. I made the favorite. I don't know if he's going to get as much love. Sometimes I like how a horse trains, and it sways me a little bit. He's been gelded since his disappointing first race, which was a very good Todd Sherrow, BWP Spirit.
Yeah.
That was a really good race, and he trained well up to that. He's trained much better since then, and I really like that working company 101 and 3. He drew off from a pretty decent stablemate of his. Bratton did on July 17th. I just feel like Bratton's going to run a terrific race today. And Capital Joke, who I think will be more popular as a the dam was exceptional. Joke, a really nice horse, a half to a multiple grade 1 winner.
Sensational.
Yeah, sensational. I mean, there's plenty to like. This horse finished third in his debut. Alto Road, the runner-up, came back and won a fast maiden special weight race last week. So there's plenty to like with Capital Joke. And Tapadine will take a lot of money, too, for Asmussen.
Yeah. I don't have the insight into the morning drills that you do. I went with Capital Joke based on the breeding primarily. Bratton is my second pick. I think you're going to see a lot of improvement off of him. If you're just dropping in and you wonder why isn't Rye Eckleberry riding for Carl Broberg or Austin Gustafson? Well, Rye got a suspension for an on-track infraction, and it covered the last week. So you're seeing Cabrera and maybe Torres and some other guys pick up mounts that Eckleberry would normally have ridden. As far as Tapadine goes, Ondine was 3 for 11, a multiple graded stakes place runner, the dam of Tapadine, but never ran on the turf. But this horse, Tapadine, has 3 full siblings. None of them have really run a step. So that part concerned me a little, but you've got the Asmussen factor. I went 8, 7, 9, and this Wee Sapa is kind of interesting to me. Carrie Craddock firster. She tends to have good foundations in them, and they tend to be fit. And like I said yesterday, I kind of like to see a horse that I'm pretty confident is going to get the distance when they start going 2 turns for the first time. But I really wanted to use Spy Amongst Us. I'm really not sure why I didn't.
Yeah, that WeSop, I just will mention on July 10th, Kerry worked 3 horses together, babies, 5/8, and this was the strongest of all of them.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I really liked. I wanted to use him too. I just ran out of.
Yeah, it's
you
a
can't
tough,
pick them all.
Yeah,
but WeSop is going to run a good race, I believe.
And gets an inside post. It's a tough race. I mean, it's one of those races where I think your 3-1 line is right on, because that's not hedging. It's just, I don't think, unless somebody gets bet heavy by the connections that we don't know about, should get a good price.
It would have to be Tapadine, I think, if anyone's going to take a lot of money, because Asmussen's, when they can run, it seems like the barn knows it.
True. 8th race. 7/8 of a mile, $10,000 claimers. Take out the 3, Eyes on Red, and scratch Rick's top pick here initially, the 10, Flapjack.
Yeah, which gives me Charlie Can Do, which, that's going to be fine with me. Ran some really nice races at Oaklawn Park. If you can be competitive at Oaklawn, you can be competitive anywhere. Recent races have been in allowance races. He on June 4th, wins an allowance sprint race and easily at Louisiana Downs. So basically, if Broberg can get that effort at this $10,000 claiming price, and Charlie Can Do, is going to be tough to defeat. The 13 Victory Boulevard for Diodoro, who's finishing the meet up, appears really strong. He won with 2 runners yesterday. This horse was running races, for Caldwell and Paul Pearson that certainly the buyer par says he can win at this level today. Dropping down after trying turf, first try for again Diodoro, and this horse has won 2 of 5 races at this 7/8 distance, which is important because it is kind of an odd distance for most racehorses. Nautical Moon, easiest of winners at this 7/8 of a mile on June 10th, defeating $20,000 condition claimers. Another who tried turf last time out and the allowance ranks was 1 pace. That wasn't a bad effort at all. Now back at a proper level at a distance and surface that we know he excels at.
Yeah, I don't really have much to offer. I have Charlie Can Do. I didn't scratch into him. I actually did have him on top. I think he's at a really nice level here, and he vainly chased Senor Buscador last time. That was one of the more interesting winners of the meet. And I have Nautical Moon and Forever Mo. That old veteran, $569,000 earner. He's been lighting the board a bit for Asmussen. He's been running for $4,000. He jumps into this condition $10,000 claimer. Forever Mo might like the 7/8 of a mile. He's old timer, should be able to handle that. Race 9. Boy, I think this is kind of a toss-up race. Maiden Specials going 8.5 furlongs. Scratch the 6, 10th of Gold.
Yeah, I think this is, on my account, my third pick. If it wins, will pay $15 or more, I believe. The 7 Red Devil.
Yeah, I'm on Red Devil, too.
Oh, are you?
How about that, yeah.
Yeah, well, not because he's an Okie bred, though. If he's an Archie bred, it'd be different.
There you go. I like him because he's an Oklahoma bred. You like him probably because he's from, he ran decently at Hot Springs, and we have a bias for that.
Yeah, and that was early in his 3-year-old year. So given a little bit of time to mature, there's a chance that this horse, and based on breezes, the breezes have all been good. Petalino, bred, owns, trains this horse. He gets Diego in the irons. So, to me, I thought he would be very interesting. And the Sire Daredevils really good, 18% with dirt route. So I just feel like Red Devil has found his level here. Cliff Diver for Kerry Craddock, in the money in all 3 of his career races. His only race on dirt, he caught Big Bernie when Big Bernie just freaked. So that was one of those races where don't be misled by the 15-length losing margin. The last 2 races have been very good on turf. And it's too early to say if this is a dirt or turf horse. I think Cliff Diver is going to be very dangerous today. And St. Pio for Asmussen, beaten ahead in his debut sprinting, then tried this same level last time out around 2 turns. Close to the pace, tired a little bit late, deserves another chance in his second try around 2 turns.
Yeah, this race is so wide open that despite the fact that St. Pio could very easily step forward and break his maiden here, I didn't use him and I didn't use Cliff Diver, and I kind of like them both. I went with Optimal Trip, who's really gotten some kind of buried rough trips in some of his races here on the turf. He's switching over to the dirt. Rossi has taken blinkers off. I think there's some reasons maybe Optimal Trip might be able to get clear and run some horses down. And then my third pick is Golden Flash, who has tended to be a lick, no stick, if you will. A lot of speed, not much staying power. Cabrera tries his hand today. Like to see George Allen Bryant win his first race as a trainer before the meet's over. But, this horse, Golden Flash, will be out there winging and shipping to the front, you would think. 10th and final, this is it. 5/8, filly and mare allowance event. Scratch the 6, My Baby's Gone. Scratch the 8, Cherokee Cowgirl, which I was trying to beat, but it was your top pick, so you scratch into one here.
Yeah, well, no reason to talk about it now. I had my reasons, but nevertheless, the 3, My Golden Bling, is the top selection. Early in this meet, won an allowance race sprinting, and that was a clear win. Notice who finished behind My Golden Bling on that day, Princess Phone, who would come back to win allowance race and then just got beat in the chicken fried steak last weekend or the weekend before that. So, Princess Phones turned out to be really nice. So, off that race alone, My Golden Bling is probably the one to beat, and adding blinkers, which, to me, good or bad, it's hard to say. I don't get too excited about blinkers on moves generally. Morning Twilight, really nice races in Oklahoma last year. One is restricted stake. Those were as a 2-year-old. The sire, Morning Line, is at well above average. Turf Sprint sire. It just comes down to Asmussen have her fit. In recent days, all of his fresh horses have been winning, his playoff horses. So, Asmussen's finishing up like he typically will do, with a lot of wins. And Blame It on Mamie, who you can't beat her to the front. We got to say that about her. She's made the lead in every single race of her career. Comes off a nice entry-level allowance win, and that was her first start as a 4-year-old filly. Maybe she's this good, and maybe she can build upon that.
Yeah, Cherokee Cowgirl takes some of the early speed out of this. She might be like that first race winner for Diodoro yesterday that just pops out of there and doesn't quit. But we were talking about expensive 2-year-olds. How about this Morning Twilight? Last year at a 2-year-old in training sale, $310,000. Nonetheless, I'm with My Golden Bling as well. I always liked her in this spot. I mean, I didn't happen to scratch into her, but Broberg's numbers with blinkers on are pretty good. A tick slightly better than his overall numbers, but has a nice recent work. I like to see that for Carl's horses when they come back and have a quick half-mile breeze. Like the company she's kept. I use Blame It on Mamie second just for the threat of getting out there and not looking back. So I took a 3-2-1. And we'll see how the meet wraps up. Hopefully it'll be a profitable one, and it's been a pleasure again being alongside you on these weekend days, and enjoy the next couple of months.
Yeah, I sure will. It's been a great meet. It really has. No off-the-turf races,
amazing,
which is, that's super amazing. And our beaten favorites has been more with the national average this year instead of a high percentage of winning favorites. The racing's been super competitive this year.
Something we probably will never be able to accomplish again. We did not have a single race scheduled for the turf that was ultimately contested on the main track.
Right.
We obviously lost 3 days of racing. We had one race night that was rained out after the first race. So we had some turf races that didn't happen at all, but we never had a race switched off the turf to the main track, which is virtually impossible.
Yeah,
but nonetheless, that's DiMaggio's hit streak record in racing terms. Thanks a lot for joining us throughout the year, and good luck today.
First home here at Lone Star Park at Grand Prix. Third victory in tonight's NTRA All-Star